Hi everyone. Um, for those of you that missed my talk at FrontConf in Munich, I thought I would just give a try of recording it while it's still fresh in my head, because I think it's an interesting story and that people could benefit from it. So let's get started. My name is Evan Payne. I'm a Senior Frontend Software Engineer. I work for a company called Netcentric. You can find me at Twitter at EvanFuture, but if you found this video, you probably already know that. So I work for a company called Netcentric. We're a digital consultancy, and we work on various different accounts and products, and we have a large employee base at the moment and are continually growing. At the moment, we have over 500 employees, and we're in 15 different offices in different countries throughout Europe, and some in India as well. And the truth is, we are large now, and we've always had large ambitions. And when you're working on as a consultancy, you need some software, at the very least, to help you keep track of what you are working on. And that software for us has always been Jira. So I think everyone is familiar with Jira that works in this industry. But if you're not, it's a ticket-based system where there are these records that are tickets that help you keep track of your projects and the work that you do. But many different types can be created. This one is an example of a generic functional requirement, which has a workflow which takes it from in development to testing to ready for production. Other types might be a bug or an incident for someone to fix, with similar fields to the first ticket. This ticket also looks like the others, but this was an event topic type that I created for some internal events, and it has a bunch of different information, but you see the trend here. It looks exactly the same. And what it got me thinking of is these are just records, really, and Jira is our backend. So we're storing all of our data in Jira. Like that's what it is for us. It is our database, and it has a better interface than a lot of databases do, but it's not a perfect way of displaying the information, and we need a front end. So the story from here takes a bit of a detour. Thinking about this and thinking of Jira as a backend, I thought, well, it would be nice to take these internal events and make them consumable by the rest of the company in the form of a mobile application. So I chose NativeScript, which I had worked with on a client project for about a year, and very quickly spun together a version of this using Jira as a backend. So on the left, you see the ticket itself, which I showed you before, and on the right, you see that is represented by one of these cards. This isn't a prototype. This is the actual working app as it was, a screenshot from that. So it worked, but we were using basic authentication, and I'll come back to that in a second why that's important. But the thing that was good about this, and one of the epiphanies that came out of this, was all of the fields that were being shown and the extra potential that we had. So in the first ticket, you have the title and the duration of it and who the speaker is. But if you wanted to get the date of that talk would be on, in Jira you have to click through to the second ticket that's on the left. And then some of those fields are also being able to be shown. So there's more information associated with this that's not that quick to get to through traditional Jira interfaces. So this is nice. This is a proof that Jira is our backend, and it works quite well and can be very beautiful. But we got stuck on authentication. Authentication flows, especially in older versions of Jira, don't use OAuth 2. And even if they did, we're front-end developers working on this project internally. Sometimes we have back-end developers available, but it's not the easiest thing to do, especially with mobile apps. So we really got blocked there, and the app kind of stalled. The other thing that people ask when I talk about this is, well, why not just have the app give the app a dummy login, like a single login, a user that has access to this data. The user doesn't have to log in. It's just available through an endpoint or something. But the problem with that is we have very complex permissions requirement issues at our company. This is just a basic idea of user groups and who has permission to make bulk changes versus projects only and things. It would be way too messy to try and keep up to sync with that. So the app was effectively dead in the water, and we haven't pursued it since. Maybe one day we will, but for now it was put to the side. Another reason, though, that it was put to the side is that we're faced with a new problem. That problem is that we, as a company, were growing. We went from 100 to 500 employees in 5 years. And in order to support the way we wanted to, these new employees and the existing ones as well, we needed a way to make the growth process more easily trackable and more fair to people. It was too easy to get for people to lose track of it, and you were being interviewed for moving up to the next, from mid-level to senior or from junior to mid-level, by people that never worked with you, and they were making decisions, and it didn't seem quite fair. So internally, the company and people involved came up with this badge system. I won't go too much into detail here, but the way the badge system works is there are 4 levels of badges for a given topic. So like JavaScript, you would get a white badge if you had basic theoretical knowledge. Over time, you could work to a green badge, or you might already be an expert and get a purple badge, or you give talks at conferences and you get the black badge, that sort of thing. And all of these are backed by Jira tickets. And here's an example. Oh, but wait, no, that's not. It just looks exactly the same as the actual example. That'll come into play later, I think, or I think it's pretty clear. This badge system and the way it's represented in Jira is actually a bit more complicated than just the badge application, because some of the fields there link to other tickets, which link to other tickets. So the reason this becomes important is not just achieving the badges and proving your knowledge, but if you want to move to another pathway level, you need to gather a certain number of points. So very briefly, a white badge is 1, green's 3, 6, and 12 points. And these add up so that at certain levels, you will get to a certain pathway level based off of how many points you've garnered. And that becomes kind of your verification process. There's more processes, it's more complex than that. But on a Jira level, this was a bigger issue. So the problem came from when talent management in particular had to start to evaluate these applications. Like, I was one of the first people to switch from level 2 to level 3 onto the new system. And at the time I had somewhere around 37 badge applications open as tickets. And for every one of those, someone in talent management had to go into that one badge ticket, to click on the link to see the parent badge to verify that it's the correct level, and then write down how many points that one would give me, and then go through all 37 and add them up to see that I did actually get to 100 points. That's a lot of manual work, and we as software engineers, like, we should avoid manual work whenever possible. So something needed to be done. So I thought, can we get access to this information? Jira has an API. Like, Atlassian does a great job of building their API so that it's accessible. It worked really well in the Events app. Can we do this within Jira somehow? Is it on the window? Like, what can we do? And it turns out that we can. And here's how. You probably, if you know Jira, know about these dashboards and these gadgets that live on them. Those are lots of different information can be displayed. They are configurable, and there's a whole way to build them. But that, for us as the front enders available to work on this in this project, that didn't seem like a good approach to dig into how to build Jira gadgets. And there was a bunch of Java involved to set up the framework for it. It was too much for us. So instead, one of these gadgets you can add is called a text gadget, and it doesn't say JavaScript in the title, but it allows you to put in HTML, and if you put in a script tag, that JavaScript will run. And that's very powerful. Yeah, so some people might call it a security issue, but we're paying for our Jira installation, so I think it's okay. And the truth is, it opens up a lot of possibilities for us because we're already within Jira. You're already logged in. So no authentication or permissions or things have to be done by our front-end application. It's already done by Jira. So the power behind that is really immense, and it was a real revelation that it worked. But then there was an eureka moment. Could we actually embed a front-end framework that would help us develop faster and be working with components into this? Could we use, say, Vue.js? And it turns out we absolutely can, and it's quite straightforward to do. So the hello world non-minified, just dumping the hello world of a Vue application in, including Vue itself, is about 90 kilobytes, which is pretty small. What we did was we inlined the scripts and the CSS along with the single div that is the app entry point, copied that from our generator and pasted it into this HTML widget and hit save, and boom, there is a Vue application on our desktop. And that was the most exciting moment I've had in a while. It just opened up so many thoughts and doors for what we could do. So one month later, no, it wasn't quite 1 month later. We did spend a while on it. We didn't all have full capacity. Sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. Developers would come in and come and go. But I'll show you a brief demo of what we've achieved so far over the last several months to bring it up. It's come a long way from initially what was pictured as just the badge dashboard to help the count. The count is there with a nice animation and some SVGs and stuff. That is now tested and verified by the computer, so talent management has a much easier time. But we've done things like make it available for talent management who has permissions to see all of their employees' HR tickets, to see their badge points, and thus more easily evaluate. Primary mission was solved. But also for individuals to keep track of their badge applications, to at a glance see this. And for me, this is where it becomes really inspiring, right? We are making our employees and our colleagues' lives easier. We're reducing a lot of overhead of understanding of these systems, and it just has been a good thing overall. So there's a lot more that we're working on. There's a lot more ticket types that we're integrating into this as someone's life as a Netcentric, someone who works for Netcentric. It's really coming along nicely. And to get back to the slides itself, Jira is our backend, and that is excellent. And in some ways, this is actually a very tight coupling. And so often in software development, we avoid that. We don't want there to be a tight coupling between things. But for us, there are some benefits. And for me, I see the benefits as this. One, we are able to reduce the cognitive load. When people look at this information of, say, a badge, the color purple represents that bit, and they don't need to see purple, the word, linked in that badge. They just see JavaScript. So they know that they're looking at a badge, there's a color purple, and JavaScript is there. It's a lot less information to absorb all at once, or it's more efficient use of that display. And if I want to say that it's worth 6 points, then on hover I can put the number 6 on the purple part. It is much more efficient than opening the badge, clicking through to the parent, seeing that that's worth 6 points, or going to a wiki page where the points are defined or something like that. So that helps. It also reinforces the use of Jira, which we want to do. Like, we've developed these workflows and we've developed these systems of things like feedback and touch points with between proteges and mentors, and having them in a dashboard that it's easy to understand and easy to use means that we're still using Jira. Those tickets still exist. Those are the basis. And if our dashboard ever went away or stopped working, those would still remain. And that's also pretty important. The third thing I want to benefit of this tight coupling is that we can work our front-end magic, and this is all feeds into the other two. The other two feed into this as well, but as front-enders, it's often our job to make things more understandable, more beautiful, and we really can do that here, especially by embedding Vue or a framework like that. Our tool set is opened up, and we can be efficient, and we can do beautiful animations, and we can have nice color themes and so on, that just doing basic development work wouldn't always let us do. And the last thing is we basically get our backend updates for free. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek because Jira is being paid for, and that's quite expensive to license, but the internal systems at Netcentric are handling the installation and the maintenance of Jira our project just piggybacks on that and benefits from it. So our backend, when Jira upgrades, as we did recently, that just happens, and our project didn't have to make any changes to that because the API that Jira has didn't change, the tickets didn't change, so it just worked as before. It was very nice. So what's the future for our project? It's working now, it's live, people are using it. What we've done so far is we've had our UX team internally start to do usability testing, do interviews with actual different stakeholders, be the talent management or regular Netcentric employees or badge keepers, the people responsible for evaluating the applications, or various others as well. And we've gathered that feedback in and set out some features that we plan to work on next. The first and most important is our leadership tools and enabling our mentor groups to more effectively handle growth of employees. And it's a great focus on Netcentric, and it's something we really love. And I don't know if this circles back around necessarily, but the question comes up then as a technical talk, why did we choose Vue and why are we sticking with Vue? So there's a few different reasons. One is that 90 kilobytes ain't that bad. React might be just as small, maybe a little bigger. Angular is not going to be that much bigger, but 90 kilobytes is a good starting place, and it basically is invisible, depending on the size of the payloads. Another reason that we do really like Vue is the Vue syntax, and in our particular case for handling state management using Vuex, it makes a lot of sense. That has been a very good tool for us. And it feeds into the next point, which is the developer onboarding experience has been easier. This being an internal project, not everyone has a lot of time to spend on it. So they might come in full-time for a week, or they might be there 2 months, but only like a couple hours a week. And in all the different cases, what I've seen, and also on my other projects, so I have an Angular project is my the main work I do. So I've seen developers come onto that project, and it's taken them a while to get comfortable with how Angular works. Whereas with Vue, juniors maybe still have some issues sometimes, depends on the person, but if they're mid-level or higher, they pick it up within a day. It is just JavaScript and then a little bit of extra on top that is Vue syntax, and it seems to fit really naturally, and they're productive right away, which really benefits our project in its nature. And the last point is, why not? I happen to very much like Vue. We have this internal kind of free license to work on this. Not completely. There's budget and there's time involved. But if you like something and you think it's the right choice, go for it. Don't let other people tell you that one framework is best or not. For us, Vue works quite well. Could we switch? Maybe, but we don't need to, and that's good. This brings me to my final point, and if you, this brings me to my final point. Front end right now is everywhere. There are so many things that we have our fingers in and that we're capable of working on, because data is all around us at the moment. Now, if you take nothing else away from this talk, I want it to be that the responsibility on us as front-enders is to make the digital world a little bit better, right? We are the display part of it. We are the front end, right? People see this, and I think that it feels good to take data, take this boring, flat information, and turn it into more beautiful things that make that data resonate more with people that interact with it. And I think what you should take away from this is, yeah, it doesn't matter if you use Jira. If it's some other modern software tool that you're using, the likelihood is that there will be an API or something on the window or a backdoor that you can hack to get some more use out of it, to make the data that's there and is hard to consume easier to consume. And especially if it doesn't have to be Vue, it doesn't have to be React or anything, but think outside the box if you can, and try and get control over the front end of things that you might not otherwise have to benefit your employees and your peers and your colleagues. So that's my talk. I hope you liked it. If you have questions or want to get in touch, reach out to me on Twitter. And that's about it. Next time, maybe we'll see you at the conference in Munich. Otherwise, thanks so much for listening, and please leave some comments or get in touch on Twitter. Cheers.